there is called Graham Manning. The man you see on the screen there is called Graham Manning. He's a coordinator for students with autism spectrum disorder at Nagle College in Cork. He also claims to be a history teacher. Last year he was suspended from Twitter for the absolute bile he was posting. Now apparently Twitter has become a cesspit where it's almost impossible to get your account suspended, but somehow this man, this teacher, has even managed that. But like all bad losers, he didn't let that stop him from posting shite. And all he had to do was go and make another account. This man tweets almost all day, every day. Even during school hours when he's supposed to be attending to school kids. He's online posting anti-far right, anti-fascist, anti-racist, anti-transphobic tweets, you name it. This lefty is tweeting about it. Now don't get me wrong, he's entitled to do that. I'm not trying to take his voice away or anything. Nor am I saying he shouldn't be using his voice. But what he seems to forget is that he's a teacher in a school. And he has a duty of care to them students. But that doesn't stop him trolling people, antagonising people, provoking people that he himself calls far-right, racist, homophobic, misogynistic, xenophobic, dangerous, a risk to people, a risk to migrants, a risk to children. And he accuses them of all that. And at the same time, he provokes them. And he provokes them to the point where some of them say they're going to turn up at his door, turn up in his town, turn up at his school. And that's where the problem arises. Because the fact is, if all these people he's engaging with are exactly what he says they are, then it's only inevitable these dangerous people are going to show up at either his door or his workplace, and his workplace is a school full of children. And he does all this trolling and provocation knowing that his name, his details, the school he works in, it's all online for anyone to access. He has no problem mentioning in his tweets that he's a teacher, that he works with autistic children. He's put all that out there himself, and in turn, he's putting them children at risk. He even goads people to turn up at the school and says if they do, he'll get them arrested. Now that's in an ideal world, you'll get them arrested, but after what detriment to them children will you get that person arrested? Maybe they'll come in, maybe they'll hit you, maybe they'll hit a few kids, maybe they'll start a fire in the school, who knows? And ringing the guards is great, but you can't ring the guards till after the fact. This man is literally waiting for people to show up before he rings the guardie, and by then it might be too late for him or anyone else to protect the kids in the school that he has a responsibility for. Now obviously this would be less concerning if he worked in a gym or a garage or something, but he doesn't. He works in a school, and in my opinion, just by looking at his online activity, he doesn't give a single shit about the safety of the children in his school. Now Mr. Manning has been displaying this abhorrent behaviour for years now, and like I say, he does it all day, every day, even during school hours. Even when he's getting paid to do a job, he ignores that job and tweets his vitriol on Twitter. Now, unless they've been living under a rock, the school principal of Nagle Community College in Cork must be aware of Mr. Manning's online activities to date. But they've obviously done nothing about it, because this man has only gotten progressively worse and worse with every passing day. On the other hand, if the principal is aware of Mr. Manning's online activity, then shame on that principal for ignoring, neglecting the safety of the children in your school. Again, Mr. Manning believes the people he's engaging with on Twitter are dangerous, racist, homophobic, far-right, anti-migrant, everything that comes with them handles. He believes these people are dangerous, and yet he keeps provoking them. So if the principal does know and is doing nothing about it, you should be sacked for incompetence. And if you don't know, you should be sacked for incompetence. The guidance for registered teachers about the use of social media and electronic devices tells teachers the following. It says, before posting, it may be useful to consider the following. Who will see my post? And am I confident that the posting, if accessed by others, which Mr. Manning's postings are accessed by anyone who wants to see them, would be considered reasonable and professional? I'm going to show you some of his posts, and they're not reasonable, nor are they professional. You're seeing them yourself on the screen. Do they look reasonable or professional to you? No, me neither. The updated Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers in Ireland states the following. Professional misconduct, disgraceful or dishonourable conduct, either in the course of the registered teacher's profession or otherwise than in the course of the registered teacher's profession if the conduct is of such a serious nature as would bring the profession of teaching into disrepute. Number 2, the definition of professional misconduct comes from case law in the area of professional regulation. I think a lot of what Mr. Manning says brings the profession of teaching into disrepute. And that's undeniable. You don't have to read him to go, I wouldn't want this man teaching my son, my daughter. Never mind if they had autism and they need special care. I wouldn't let him near them. Professional integrity 2.5. Avoid conflict between the professional work and private interests, which could reasonably be deemed to impact negatively on pupils and students. And like I said, in his private public life, he's antagonising, fighting with and goading so-called dangerous people. And eventually, one of these might just turn up at his school. Therefore, he's directly putting his students in danger. Professional conduct 3.2. Take all reasonable steps in relation to the care of pupils and students under their supervision so as to ensure their safety and welfare. Take all reasonable steps. For example, is it reasonable for the teacher with his face out there, with his school out there, to be arguing, fighting and goading people online that he says are dangerous far-right agitators? Now that wouldn't be deemed as a reasonable step in any industry, but especially in teaching. These kids, if anyone shows up, can't defend themselves. You're a grown man, Mr. Manning, you probably can to an extent, but these kids can't. Like you said, you're going to ring the Garda. Big deal. It'd be too late for them kids by then, because you didn't take the reasonable step or protected your identity or the identity of your school before you went out provoking so-called dangerous people. Professional practice 4.8. Act in the best interests of pupils and students, which he might do during school hours. He might do in front of the pupils, but during school hours he's on Twitter fighting, antagonising and goading people. And that is definitely not in the best interest of his students whatsoever. Now I'm going to play this 15-second video of Mr. Manning out in the wild, and he's been approached by somebody that he trolled on Twitter, that he provoked on Twitter. Now no harm came to him, he was alright, he was lucky that the person who approached him wasn't violent or didn't turn up at the school. But this is an example of how his behaviour online drives people to approach him in public. So the potential is there for the nut job to approach him at his school. And he well knows that.
Oh, you should know. You're the one that did the teaming job.
I said that to about 50 second people.
Exactly. And now you're seeing them all and you're fucking, who are you?
I had seen him.
So there you go. Small man, can't even defend himself. Stands there like a little bitch, like, I'm not seeing them. So what the fuck is he going to do to protect kids when some nutter turns up to the school to do something violent because of the way he spoke to them online? And that's fine. You can do that all you want. If you get suspended off Twitter, you get suspended off Twitter. If you get arrested, you get arrested. But this man works in a school and he's provoking reactions. He's making people approach him. It's not something I'm making up. And it's not an opinion I'm deriving out of nowhere. It's an actual fact. He's provoked people to the point he's been approached in public for it. And like I said, it's public knowledge where he works. It's easy for someone to find him. He doesn't care. And apparently neither do the people that run the school he works in. Neither does the Board of Education. No one seems to give a shit about the actual kids in that school. Here's an example of one of the reasons some people think he's unhinged. He shouldn't be teaching kids. This is Mr. Manning here, Graham Manning. He tweets, "Sweet feck all getting done around here today." And before the first langer asks, yes, he tried. Wasn't for him. Basically, it looks like his baby's sucking on his nipple. He's standing there topless. The child's sucking on his nipple or appearing to suck on his nipple. He thinks it's funny to get his phone, take a selfie of it, make out he's trying to breastfeed the kid. Poor taste, not funny. Actually, it's revolting. And I'd hate to be that child to grow up and look back at family photos and see one where me dad was topless in the kitchen, mimicking breastfeeding me. And not only that, he posted it online for everyone to see. It's disgusting behaviour. Now, he's obviously ashamed of that post, that picture, because somebody called him out and his excuse for it is stupid. So this fella Bob was giving him shit for posting the photo and he's trying to deny it. He says, you posted the photo yourself, you head case. You also posted your love for Peter Tatchel, who's a fucking suspected paedophile. This stuff doesn't get forgotten. I feel bad for your child having to deal with this in the future. So do I. Stop talking like you're hard, Peter. Doesn't suit you. So he's calling him Peter as a slant because it's Peter Tatchel. He's calling him Peter Tatchel. So Mr. Manning, in defence, says, I did. What's in the pic, Bob? Me giving skin to skin with my newborn. Oh, it even sounds gross when he says it. Me giving skin to skin with my newborn while doing some chores. Doing chores topless. Giving skin to your newborn. What the newborns do, Bob. Ever spent any actual time with a newborn? Many times you want to say newborn for fuck's sake. Because he's a newborn. That's an excuse for you having him suck on your hairy nipple and take a photo and post it online. Because he's a newborn. That's alright. Bob says, you shoving your fat hairy man boob into the child's face with a caption, something like, we tried, he didn't take to it. Why else would I be calling you Peter? Don't act dim now, Petey. You said to stop you. What makes you think you're even worth a slap? There you go. More people talking about violence towards him. See, he incites it. He enrages people. This is what he's doing as a teacher in a school that everyone knows where he's working. Doesn't give a shit. Anyway, he's telling Bob it's slander. He's going to sue him if he doesn't take it back. Bob's like, it probably would be slander if you didn't post it yourself. Yeah, you posted it yourself, you dumbass. Well, I can't help but to come to the opinion when that's what you post, Peter. Now, that is consequences. Nah, Bob, gave a newborn skin to skin. It's not just for after they're born, by the way. God, you sick fuck. He rooted for a nipple, as all newborns do. I obviously stopped him and made a joke about it. You then invented a version of it, slandered me repeatedly and ignored the out I generously gave you. So many fathers out there have had their child rooting for your nipple and latching on. And then if that did happen, how many of you got your phones out, took a photo of it and trolled people online with it? And then when he gets called out for it, it's skin to skin with my newborn. He rooted for the nipple and found it. Fuck off. In my opinion, you probably put his head there, you forced his face into your nipple, you took the photo and you posted it. None of that shit is natural. None of it happened naturally or organically. It's just a narcissist doing narcissist shit. Now, if you're a teacher in Nagle Community College in Cork and Graham Manning is your colleague, then you really should, on behalf of the kids in your school, make a complaint about Graham Manning's online behaviour. He's inciting hatred. He's provoking people to approach him on the street, to threaten him online, to turn up at the school. And he does nothing to quell it. He does nothing to stop it. He keeps going and going, making more and more people angry until one day, one nut job is going to see through with the threat of turning up at that school. And if you're a parent of any of the students going to that school, you've just seen for yourself what Graham Manning writes online and what people reply and what they say they're going to do. And even on the street in the video, how they approach him to his face. And all this because he decides he has the freedom to just behave however he wants online, to talk to people however he wants. But unfortunately, when you take a job as a teacher, for example, you have a responsibility to keep that shit to yourself. Yeah, you can be online saying, I'm Graham Manning, you're a fascist, you're a racist, you're this, you're that. But you shouldn't also be saying on the same account, I'm an autism teacher, I'm a history teacher, I live in Cork. I work in Cork. He makes it easy for any idiot to find him, hunt him down and catch him. And even the guidelines for teachers state that he's not supposed to be doing that. So if you are a parent of any of the students and you think, well, I met him, he's a nice guy, he's not really like that. He is really like that. He's inciting people. That's happening. Doesn't matter what you think of him, he's inciting people. He's provoking people. And eventually someone might show up at your child's school. And because you're so nicey nice and accepting, something might actually happen to your child. And all you did was ignore it. Get onto the school, complain about Mr. Manning, complain about his online behaviour. It'll be a justified complaint. And it's what you're expected to do as a parent. You don't just send your kids to school with any old fucking nut job to do what they want. And to be out there creating negative consequences for your kids based on his actions. So the school principal, the school teachers, the parents, everyone in the community down there should be reporting this man. And I'm not saying get him sacked, but at the very least he should be ordered to stop provoking the reactions he's provoking purposely online when it's putting the school and the students in danger. Under Section 10 of the Children First Act 2015, boards and management have a statutory obligation to ensure, as far as practicable, that children are safe from harm as defined in the Act while they are attending the school or while participating in school activities. So the boards have a responsibility to sort this Mr. Manning out. Like, he can't be just left to continue doing what he's doing. He's a genuine risk to the pupils in that school. That's a fact. No one can deny that. I've just proven it. Under the Children First Act 2015, all boards of management are statutorily obliged to undertake a risk assessment in accordance with the Act. This assessment involves considering and documenting the potential for harm to come to children, referred to as risk, while they are in the school's care. Section 11(1)(a) of the Children's Act 2015 defines risk as any potential for harm to a child while availing of this service. It should be noted that Children First outlines that risk in this context is the risk of harm as defined in the Children First Act 2015 and not general health and safety risk. Section 2 of the Act defines harm as follows. Harm means in relation to a child: A. Assault, ill treatment or neglect of the child in a manner that seriously affects or is likely to seriously affect the child's health, development or welfare, or B. Sexual abuse of the child, whether caused by a single act, omission or circumstances, or a series of combination of acts, omission or circumstances, or otherwise. Ill treatment means in relation to a child to abandon or cruelly treat the child, or to cause or procure or allow the child to be abandoned or cruelly treated. Neglect means in relation to a child to deprive the child of adequate food, warmth, clothing, hygiene, supervision, safety or medical care. Welfare includes in relation to a child the moral, intellectual, physical, emotional and social welfare of the child. A risk assessment is an exercise whereby an organisation examines all aspects of its activities, including online activities, to establish whether there are any practices or features of those activities that have the potential to put children at risk of harm. Children First National Guidance 2017 outlines that the risk assessment process is intended to enable an organisation to identify potential risks of harm, ensure appropriate policies and procedures are in place to minimise risk of harm by responding in a timely manner to risks. Review whether adequate precautions have been taken to eliminate or reduce these risks or harm. So look, I can go on and on with that, but the point is, it's in there. You're not allowed to cause any risk to the kids in your school, under your care, under your supervision. And if the school sees any risk, they're meant to counter it and eliminate it. But for the past number of years, Mr. Manning has been managing to get away with his online activity, his behaviour, his provocative, insightful behaviour, which I'm telling you right now is putting them kids in that school at risk. So you've seen him in the video being approached on the street because of stuff he's saying online to people. You've seen the threat of someone saying they'd hit him a slap. You've seen the threat of someone saying that their friend would turn up to the school he works in and see him face to face. And all he says is, well, that's a great way to get his rancid ass arrested. He didn't say, please don't put the kids in danger. He just goaded them. Well, do it and you get arrested. No, that's not putting kids at risk. I don't know what is. And if you can get away with that as a teacher, you can get away with anything. So somebody, somewhere, needs to deal with Mr. Graham Manning before any of the kids in the school he works are forced to pay the consequences for his actions.